Hey YouTube. So, got into the match here, and this one's interesting a little bit for a few reasons. And the first thing I want to talk about is my opponent, and not so much my opponent in general, but or in specific, I should say, but just my opponents in general. And this is a Terran. Been seeing a lot of Terrans lately, a lot of Protoss, and not so many Zerg. Which in terms of my YouTube channel is kind of crappy. I like to put some Zerg matches up, but in terms of my ladder ranking, I'm okay with it because I was looking at my stats before this game, and I have a 13% win rate versus Zerg, so not so good, as opposed to my 71% versus Terran and 43% versus Protoss. Go for the early gas. Something I tend to do. A lot of Protoss builds are pretty gassy, so I tend to get that up and going pretty quick. And here I'm going to scout as well. So we'll follow my probe. Scouting again is something I'm trying to be better about, and not only remembering to scout, but also paying more attention to what I'm scouting and what my probe is doing while I'm scouting. I do manage to get in, he hasn't walled off quite yet. So I do notice he puts his gas down while I'm in here, so I notice that. And then he tries to get me out of here with a Marine. I do move away. And down, back this way. This is where this build kind of gets interesting. I decided just on a whim to put proxy down early. I usually wait until I move out with a larger army. But I just decided to do it here. Which ended up being kind of the cornerstone of this build. I am going to attack his SCV, and then I kind of get distracted and end up losing the probe. Not because I'm attacking, but because he moves back to base. The thing I want to talk about with this proxy, though, is he runs right by it when he's chasing, or I'm chasing him back to base, and so he knows it's here. He's expecting something. So in retrospect, I probably could have put it back here or up here, maybe even over here somewhere, just so he wouldn't spot it quite as easily. So that's the thing to consider in the future. I do have a robotics facility coming up. Again, you'll see no Stargates for me this game. Something I'm trying to get away from just because it's something I do a lot and it's kind of predictable. You can almost get away with not scouting Protoss because you can pretty much just assume they're doing air. It's really good right now, so. And that's what he does. He's putting down a bunch of missile turrets. He's, you know, not a bad bet these days, but in this case it didn't work out for him. I do start an Immortal here right away, as well as a robotics bay, so I can get my extended thermal lance coming. My idea was to go Colossus here, and it works out really well. I do put a forge down as well. Probably could have put my two gateways here up a little earlier. He does scan to see if I have an expansion, which of course I don't. Might have been able to expand a little earlier. Doesn't really matter. Here we go. So he's going to move out and try and take out my pylon here with just 4 Marines. I got nothing here, so 5 Marines. Sorry. We warped in a couple of stalkers. I didn't quite have enough to warp in that 3rd stalker, and I warped in late and lose both the pylon and my stalker there. So I do take out one of his Marines, but I do have to move up and put another pylon down because I lost that. My Immortal, I am going to start my extended thermal lance and a Colossus here coming up pretty soon. He's got some tanks coming up as well. It's probably smart. Tanks are really good, but at the same time they're kind of why I moved away from playing Terran, because in PvT you end up with just turtle fests and they're annoying. So there's my my extended thermal lance coming up. I do have +1 weapons as well, and I'm going to start a Colossus there as well. So there's my pylon again, and my Immortal and my 2 stalkers. And I'm going to have this probe as well start an expansion when he gets back. I'm going to speed up just a little bit more to get to the interesting stuff. And we'll focus here. So he's moving down with a handful of Marines and a couple of tanks. I've got 2 Stalkers and a Mortal. I do warp in some more units here in a second when he attacks me. And my expansion as well. And my Colossus is coming up here. Here's his attack. I've got, what, 5 Stalkers and an Immortal against 5 Marines and 2 tanks. It's kind of a stalemate, because I can't move up with these tanks here, and he can't really do much with these Marines. He does try. That's okay. I do have my External Thermal Lance coming up already, and he does try and move up a little bit here. Doesn't do much good. He is just barely out of range, so just kind of unlucky on his part, but good for me, as I'm able to warp in some more units. And this is what I'm going to move out with against not a whole heck of a lot. He does move an extra Marine and a tank down. The other thing you'll notice is I'm being pretty good about not getting supply blocked and not letting my resources get behind. Something I'm not been very good at in the past, but getting there. And I just own his tanks with this Colossus. I'm out of range, he doesn't even hit it. Orbit some more units. You know, honestly, leaving here was probably the right call. He was expecting me to go air and to go and just not be able to do anything because of all these turrets. Again, air is not a bad bet against Protoss, as pretty much any race anymore. So, I can't say I blame him for just assuming I'm going air, but it kind of backfired for him. He was expecting me to go air, and he was going to be able to turtle, and it blew up for him. So, you know, leaving, he's got 2 Marines, a tank, and not a heck of a lot else. So, probably not a bad idea. The other thing that I was doing at the end of this game was I was putting up a Twilight Council, and my idea was to go for DTs in case my little push with my Stalker and my Colossus didn't work. As it turns out, it did, but again, with this forward pylon, things like DTs are really strong, so wouldn't have been a bad bet. I did not know about these missile turrets, so it probably wouldn't have worked out in this game in particular, but in the future it might, and it's something to certainly consider and mess around with a little bit in the future. So this is something I'm going to do again, and we'll see how it works out, but it worked out pretty well here, and I will see you guys next time.